This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and our guest today is Lucian Brown. Lucian is an employee of the Postal Service, but has a long and interesting history prior to that. And Lucian, let me, before we go any further, say welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a real treat to have you in the studio today. We here at the station have gotten to know Lucian because he delivers mail to us, and his customer service priorities and his philosophy of dealing with other people are things that have gotten our attention just because of the way he treats us, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Lucian, give us a little bit of biography.
Well, originally from a small town in a northeastern corner of Arkansas. After graduating high school, I wanted to be a U.S. Marine. My dad didn't quite look at it that way. He wanted me to go off to school. So me and my buddy stuck to our plan and talked to my mom, and she kind of coerced my dad and let me do my own thing. So we took the military entry test into the Marines. At that point, I ran into a little bump because far as the medical part, I didn't quite pass the medical exam. Ended up finding out that I had a heart murmur.
Yeah, actually not all that unusual. I certainly have known a lot of people in my life that have discovered they have a heart murmur, but it disqualified you for the Marines. Is that right?
Yes, because the armed forces, Marines has a very, very physical basic training.
Uh-huh.
So their concern was that I probably wouldn't make it, and so he told me that they wouldn't accept me because of that.
As I understand it, you then enrolled in business school in Michigan?
Yes, I ended up moving to Michigan with my sister, and then I enrolled into a business college, started pursuing a degree in business administration. I was in school for about a year, and my cousin, who had joined the Army, came visiting. He woke up to his old ghost. He said, "Hey, why don't you think about coming into the Army?" And I started thinking about it, and one day I got up, put my clothes on, got dressed, and walked right into the recruiting station.
Uh-huh.
Told him I wanted to join up, and we started the process. And then right after that, I entered the Army. I thought my sister was going to be upset about it because she didn't know. I got up that morning and got dressed. I think she assumed that I was going to school or I had class.
You had other ideas for that day, huh?
Class was at the recruiting station. So once I came back to the house, I was like, how am I going to tell her? So I finally told her, and she was happy. I was like, well, I thought she was going to get upset. She said, I think that's a good move for you, you know, and I think you've been here long enough.
It sounds like you had a sister who cares for you.
Oh, yes.
A lot.
Oh, yes.
As a matter of fact, you had 5 sisters.
Yes.
You were the youngest of 6?
I'm the youngest of 6.
Let me, if we could, Lucian, I certainly want to talk more with you about your Army career. But before we go there, going back to your early days, you have a song that you've identified as special to you, "I Keep Forgetting" by Michael McDonald. It ties into your earlier history, as I understand it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I remember when I was a young kid, about 17, 18, he was in a group called the Doobie Brothers.
Uh-huh.
And it's just something about that group that caught my eye. I used to watch them on TV, and they could sing. And I just listened to them. You know, at that age, I didn't really listen to the notes or listen to actually what they were saying. I just liked the beat and their style, the way they dress, and just how, they looked cool to me. But later on, as I got older, I remember Michael McDonald was in that group. And I remember, I don't know when they kind of went apart, but he started his solo career. And I remember him doing a duet with Patti LaBelle. And it's just something about his voice is he has a raspy type of voice. But I like the way he sings. When he made this one song, I love that song.
Great. Well, let's hear it. "I Keep Forgetting" by Michael McDonald, formerly of the Doobie Brothers. That was "I Keep Forgetting" by Michael McDonald. If you're just joining us, this is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and our guest today is Lucian Brown. Lucian, I'd like to have you tell us a little more, if you would, about your Army career. You joined the Army, you said, having graduated from high school in Arkansas and then spent some time in school in Michigan and then joined the Army. What year was that?
In 1988,
You were telling me before we came into the studio that you did a fair amount of traveling during your time.
You can do a lot of traveling in the military. I did. My initial enlistment was 4 years, so I spent 1 year at Fort Lewis, Washington. I spent 3 years in Germany, and then that was during the Cold War. They closed a lot of the military installations. All single guys had to leave and come back to the States. And so that's when I left there and I came to Fort Bragg. Kind of like Fort Bragg. You know, It wasn't a bad place to hang out, especially when they give you a lot of 4-day time off. They call family time.
And you went from Fort Bragg to where?
I spent about 4.5, 5 years at Fort Bragg. I left there and I went to Korea. And after that, I left Korea. I went to Oklahoma. From Oklahoma to Iraq, and then back from Iraq to Korea, from Korea to Fort Hood, and then a second tour to Iraq.
I see. Okay. So you were twice in Korea and twice in Iraq?
Yes.
I know from having heard stories about those who spent time in Iraq that it was a difficult thing for many people. What was your experience like in Iraq?
Well, you can't imagine what those people are going through until you actually go over there and you actually see it. And then it kind of changes your whole perspective on life. Where as Americans we say we need this and I need that and I'm having a hard time. And when you go over there and you see what's going on, then you know that as Americans, man, you appreciate being an American, and you say, wow, and we really got it made. You go over there, and I seen the condition that they were living in and what he was putting them through. And so to me, I was saying that they need us, to help them, liberate them. And so I kind of felt this is a need for me to be over here for this. You're standing on the asphalt, and it's so hot, and the heat's coming through your boot, and you're like, man, it's hot. And this little kid comes up to you, and they don't have any shoes on, and they're just asking to eat. I mean, your heart kind of pour out to them, and you're like, man, look at this kid. And so that part, got to me, and so I said, we need to be able to help these people out.
So it gave you a sense of real purpose, real mission.
Yes.
What about your interaction with your fellow soldiers? What did you learn? What did you experience in terms of relating with and working with people under difficult circumstances like that?
Well, what they do is when you build camaraderie together. So once you get over there, you know that your fellow soldiers, your buddies, they got your back. When you go out on your rotation or you go out on your patrol, you guys are trained day and night and day. So they know you, you know them. And so you got to put your trust into them. You go out on your patrol or you go out and interact with the Iraqi people, and everybody's looking out for everybody.
You were injured in Iraq. Would you mind sharing just a little bit about that?
At the time when I was over there, the road conditions are pretty rough. There's a lot of potholes, and those potholes are formed from what they call IED.
Improvised explosive devices.
Yes. Sometimes they take them and they'll dig underneath the road and put them under there. They'll take animal carcass, kind of gut them out and put the bomb inside of that and set the animal on the side of the road or set him in the middle of the road. And then they'll detonate it with a remote control or from using their cell phone. And so as they're doing that, it destroys the road. So if you're going down the road, you got like big, huge potholes, craters in the road. And so if you're driving a vehicle, you have to pay attention to what's going on. Because if the driver isn't paying attention, you hit one of those potholes, and that's what happened to us. We hit and the vehicle flipped over, and we got injured. I got injured. So, it was pretty rough.
And you said that, was it the gunner who died in that accident?
Yeah, my gunner, he's a 25-year-old. He broke his neck. What happens is he's in a turret, and then he tried to come down because the vehicle, when he actually missed the pothole, and when he went off the road, the right side of the vehicle kind of like dropped down, and he couldn't get it back up on the road. So the gunner tried to, he knew it was getting ready to flip, so he tried to come down out the turret, and his gear got hung up, and he couldn't get down. And when the vehicle flipped over,
gotcha.
He got his neck broke.
Well, again, we don't have time to get into a lot in the way of other details. I know you were telling me before we came into the studio about other fellow soldiers that you saw die in Iraq and how difficult that was and how very challenging it was for you and your fellow soldiers, given the rules of engagement, the limited response you were allowed because of your uncertainty about who the enemy really was.
Yes. Yeah. It's just, it's not like conventional warfare. If you're fighting the enemy, you see him, and you guys are going at each other. You firing at him, he firing at you. He's in his tank, you're in your tank. You're fighting the enemy that more like coward. Like this guy will jump from behind a building, fire some rounds at you, disappear behind a building, take off running, takes his, I think they call it a shawl, whatever he's wearing. He'll take that off. And underneath, he's wearing regular pants and jeans, and then he'll go and interact with the regular people. You don't know who's who. So it makes the job a lot tough, especially if you're in your squad or something and one of your members get injured. Those guys take that to heart. It's serious. If you get one of your guys get shot, and then you seen a guy, you got glimpses of him, but then once you chase the guy down, you can't identify him because he done took his cover off, and now he interacting with the women and the children. So it's you just can't fire into a crowd, and injure innocent civilians. So it makes it really, really tough mentally.
I suppose, given those sorts of circumstances, it makes you really appreciate your friends.
Oh, yes.
We've talked together about another song that relates to friends, but tell us why it is that songs or music that have friends as a theme are special to you.
In junior high, I had a friend by the name of Curtis, and me and him was very, very close. I mean, we spent a lot of time together. Even, I don't know if you were watching it, it was the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Uh-huh.
LeBron James.
Sure.
You noticed lately that him and Dwayne Wade are best friends.
Uh-huh.
And so now Dwayne Wade is now playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
They're joining forces.
So, yes. And so they asked LeBron James, said, how you feel about that? And LeBron James said, well, it's kind of like the first day of school. You walk in class, you really don't know who's in there. But then when you walk in and you see your best friend, you're like, oh, yeah, it's on. That's the way me and Curtis was when we were in school. We would always make sure that we had at least 2 or 3 classes together. I mean, I walk into class and see him, or he walk in and see me. It's like, oh, yeah, it's on now, Not necessarily saying we were destructive in class, We were just...
A little mischief there sometimes?
Little mischief. But we would get our work done, We were kind of competitive, too, about grades, who would have the best grade. So that kept us on the straight and narrow right there. But, yeah, we were very close. I mean, Saturday mornings, Dad would get up and fix breakfast about 7 to 8 o'clock, and you would hear. And I knew there was Curtis knocking on the door. He wouldn't ring the doorbell, he would knock. And so I would go answer the door. He would be, what's going on, man? And so I would invite him in. And he'd come in, we eat breakfast together over there, Do
you and Curtis still stay in touch?
Well, he passed away about 10 years ago.
So pretty young age then.
Yeah, pretty young age.
I'll tell you what, we'll dedicate this song to Curtis posthumously. James Taylor, You've Got a Friend.
Oh, yeah, you've got a friend.
That was You've Got a Friend, sung by James Taylor, words written by the inestimable Carole King. This is Grace Notes. Our guest today is Lucian Brown. Lucian was honorably discharged from the Army after 15-some years as a sergeant and has since taken on employment with the U.S. Postal Service. Lucian, tell us what your priorities are in terms of interacting with folks to whom you deliver mail. What keeps you going? What's your focus?
Well, I love working with the guys, the group of carriers that we have. Great bunch of guys. We come in the morning. We get each other going. A few laughs and jokes, and it's great. I love interacting with people. And we come in, we get the mail ready, and we load our trucks up, and we head out. And when we head out, it's kind of like I'm just full of butterflies, because I can't wait to get out there, start delivering the mail, talking to the residents, smiling and laughing, making their day.
You're a people person.
Oh, I'm a people's person, 100%. I mean, I love getting out in the community and interacting with the residents and the people, the businesses. I just love it.
Can you give us any examples of the day-to-day interaction that you have with customers?
Oh, yeah. I was delivering the mail, and I was going to this one house, and the resident, he's always out, working on his yard, and he's a good guy. And I walk up, and I'm coming, and he said, you better have some checks. And I said, well, sir, I can't guarantee that. I got some mail, though. And then I gave him his mail, and he said, man, you always, in a joking manner, he wasn't serious. He said, every time you come to my house, you bring in bills. I don't want no bills. And I said, well, sir, I said, if it make you feel any better, I said, when I drop that light bill in your mailbox, there's a mailman dropping one in mine. He said, you know what? He said, no, I like that. He said, you're all right with me.
We're in it together, you tell him.
Oh, yes. It made him feel a lot better then. That made sense then.
Is there anybody that gets mail all the time that sometimes runs into issues if it doesn't get delivered?
Oh, yeah. You got a lot of customers out there that'll say, they get mail all the time. And, every now and then you'll have one customer that they get mail every day. And sometimes it happens. One day they don't get mail. And so this one lady, she told me, I came to her house to deliver mail. And she said, well, I didn't get no mail yesterday. And I said, you didn't? I said, well, the mail was kind of light, ma'am. She said, well, I've been living here 30 years, and I've gotten mail every day. And I said, well, ma'am, there's always a first. And she said, yeah, I guess you're right, Lucian. It is a first.
First time for everything. Huh?
First time for everything.
Lucian, if we could, let's go back to your early days because it ties into another song you've identified as special for us. And I guess we're coming up on the season, not quite there yet, but tell us about Silent Night by the Temptations.
That was a song that was, when I was a young boy, my mom, right around Thanksgiving season, all the way up to Christmas, she would start grocery shopping, getting the meals ready for Thanksgiving. She would play a variety of songs, but the main song in the house was the Temptations, Silent Night. I mean, when that song played, there's no loud noise. That song has to be heard throughout the house. My mom would be in the kitchen, and we'd be all the way in the living room, and she had to be able to hear that song in the kitchen, while she's cooking. And it just, you come in, you hear Silent Night playing and the smell of food. And so, that just, every year I play it and listen to it, gets me in the mode. I go to thinking about my mom and stuff, She passed away a year after I graduated high school. So she passed away at a young age. She was 45.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that was the season there. Throughout the house, Silent Night, food cooking, and that was a good time.
Just great memories, and I gather just one little thing that has continued to follow you throughout your life. And
Oh, yes. Yeah. That song gets played in the house.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
Very good. Well, Lucian, it's been a real privilege to talk with you today. We appreciate the service that you give us, and of course I'm sure I speak for a lot of other people with whom you interact regularly in saying that you're just a great example of how to live one's life and treat other people, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me.
Lucian, I guess you've gotten us into the Christmas mode, and we may be the first station in all of North Carolina to play a Christmas song in October here. Lucian, we'll be thinking of your mom as we play this. The Temptations and Silent Night. You've been listening to Grace Notes, a special program here on Life 103.1 featuring people who may be relatively unknown, but who meet life's challenges in ways that brighten the lives of those around them. Our producer is Christina Dolan. I'm Alan Button, and we invite you to join all of us here at the station again next Friday at 5:30 for Grace Notes on Life 103.1.